find experts and you have them help you find other experts, and you dig really, really deep and you ask the dumb questions. So I have a set of maybe 10 questions that I will ask experts in anything, and people don't assume it's hard to get a hold of experts. Many researchers are more than happy to pick up the phone and talk to someone who's excited about their research. Whether you find them on PubMed, which is a resource I use for looking at studies, for instance, or abstracts, whether you find them on PubMed, whether you find them through a university directory, a lot of people will be happy to talk to you, as long as you're rational and don't waste their time and have good questions. So in my particular case, there are certain questions where if it's, say, if it's a runner or a basketball coach or a surfing coach or a professional surfer, they just need to be good at what they're doing. Then I will ask them questions like, who is good at this, who shouldn't be good at this? In other words, if everyone who does ultra endurance running is built like a spider and 6'2", are there any 5'8", 250 pound people who are good at ultra endurance running? And every question has a reason behind it. In that case, I'm looking to identify outliers who have used training to overcome handicapping attributes. Because very often you find the opposite. You have people with incredible attributes, and those attributes compensate for mediocre training. Right? In the NFL, you see this all the time. You see guys with completely ripped, probably 5% body fat, and their meals are Burger King for breakfast, Wendy's for lunch, McDonald's for dinner. I'm not kidding. It's just like their genetics are so out of control favorable that they can get away with that. So you don't want to study them. You don't want to study the genetic mutants necessarily, right? So that's question number one. Question number two would be potentially, and I have a bunch of these questions, but if you, who are the most controversial trainers in X and Y? What do you think of them? And if the person I'm talking to has been able to produce really good results for themselves and they're not a coach, I'll ask, have you ever taught anyone else to do this? Have you been able to replicate this with anyone? What are the challenges that you've had? What are the biggest wastes of time that you see novices committing in X? Right? But in the case of something like powerlifting, for instance, or something like that, I would ask, if you had 8 weeks, I know it's impossible, I know it probably takes 6 months or 6 years, but if you had 8 weeks to prepare me for X, right, or to try to maximize Y, and the prize was $10 million to you if you could do it, what would you do? I know it's impossible. I know it's a ridiculous time frame, but what would you do if you had to? And that's a forcing function question, right? It's and you get some incredible feedback.